Every parent has experienced a moment when patience seems to disappear. The toys are scattered across the floor, homework remains unfinished, siblings are arguing, and after repeating the same instruction several times, frustration begins to rise. In those moments, yelling can feel like the fastest way to regain control. For a few seconds, it often works. The room becomes quiet, children stop what they are doing, and everything appears under control. But what many parents don't realize is that silence created by fear is very different from cooperation built on trust. The smartest parents understand something that isn't always obvious. Their goal is not simply to make a child obey today. Their goal is to raise an adult who can make wise decisions, regulate emotions, solve problems, and maintain healthy relationships for the rest of their life. They know that every interaction with their child is shaping the person that child will eventually become. Today's children are growing up in a world filled with distractions, social pressure, academic expectations, and emotional challenges that previous generations never experienced. More than ever, children need parents who become their safe place rather than another source of fear. This does not mean allowing bad behavior or avoiding discipline. It means choosing methods that teach instead of intimidate. In this video, you'll discover why smart parents rarely rely on yelling, what actually happens inside a child's brain when they are shouted at, and the simple habits that create respect without raising your voice. By the end, you may begin to see parenting in a completely different way. The first reason smart parents avoid yelling is because they understand how the brain responds to fear. When a parent suddenly raises their voice, a child's brain immediately shifts into survival mode. Instead of thinking clearly, learning from the situation, or understanding the lesson, their attention becomes focused on protecting themselves emotionally. At that moment, logic takes a back seat. The child's heart beats faster, stress hormones increase, and the brain becomes more interested in escaping discomfort than remembering what the parent was trying to teach. From the parent's perspective, it may look like the child is finally listening. In reality, the child is often simply reacting to fear. This is why many children repeat the same mistakes even after being yelled at multiple times. The lesson never truly reached them because their brain was too busy dealing with stress. As we understand how children respond to fear, another important truth becomes clear. Children learn emotional habits by watching the adults around them. Think about it for a moment. If every disagreement at home ends with someone shouting, what lesson is the child learning? They are learning that louder voices solve problems. They begin believing that anger is the normal response whenever someone feels frustrated. Children are incredible observers. Long before they follow instructions, they copy behavior. They notice how parents handle disappointment, traffic, financial stress, family disagreements, and daily frustrations. These observations quietly become their blueprint for adulthood. When parents stay calm during difficult moments, children learn emotional control without anyone having to explain it. They begin to understand that strong emotions do not always require loud reactions. This lesson becomes one of the greatest gifts a parent can offer. Once children experience emotional safety, communication naturally becomes stronger. Many parents assume children stop listening because they are stubborn. Often, the opposite is true. Children stop listening because they feel unheard themselves. When a child believes their thoughts and emotions matter, they become more willing to cooperate. They begin seeing their parents as partners instead of opponents. Imagine two different conversations. In the first, a parent immediately yells after seeing a messy bedroom. The child becomes defensive, embarrassed, or angry. In the second, the parent calmly says, "I noticed your room hasn't been cleaned. Let's figure out what's making it difficult." Both parents want the room cleaned. But only one conversation teaches problem solving, responsibility, and mutual respect. Over time, children raised with respectful communication become more comfortable sharing mistakes, asking for advice, and discussing difficult situations. Instead of hiding problems, they bring them to their parents. That trust becomes especially valuable during the teenage years, when children face challenges far beyond dirty bedrooms or unfinished homework. As communication improves, discipline also begins to change. Many people confuse discipline with punishment. They are not the same thing. Punishment focuses on making children suffer for mistakes. Discipline focuses on teaching children how to make better choices next time. Smart parents ask themselves one simple question whenever a problem occurs. What lesson do I want my child to remember tomorrow? If the answer is responsibility, honesty, kindness, or self-control, then yelling rarely helps achieve that goal. Instead, they create logical consequences. If toys are left outside, they are temporarily put away. If homework is ignored, screen time waits until responsibilities are completed. If hurtful words are spoken, apologies and repaired relationships become part of the solution. These consequences teach accountability without damaging connection. Children gradually learn that every choice has an outcome, and that lesson prepares them for adult life far better than fear ever could. Another reason smart parents avoid yelling is because consistency is far more powerful than intensity. Some parents rarely enforce rules until frustration explodes. The child receives mixed signals. One day the behavior is ignored, and the next day it results in shouting. Children thrive on predictability. When expectations remain consistent, children know exactly what is expected of them. They no longer spend energy testing invisible boundaries because the boundaries remain steady. Calm consistency creates security. Emotional explosions create confusion. Children are much more likely to cooperate when they understand the rules before problems happen rather than hearing them for the first time during an argument. As consistency grows, something remarkable begins to happen. Parents no longer need to raise their voices as often because children already understand the expectations. Another habit shared by emotionally intelligent parents is learning to pause before reacting. This may sound simple, but it is incredibly powerful. When frustration rises, taking a slow breath or counting silently for a few seconds allows the thinking part of the brain to regain control. Those few seconds often prevent words that cannot be taken back. Children remember emotional moments for years. A sentence spoken in anger may remain in a child's memory long after the parent has forgotten saying it. That is why thoughtful parents choose responses they will still feel comfortable about tomorrow. Calmness is not weakness. It is emotional strength in action. Children notice this strength, and over time they begin practicing it themselves. Another important principle is separating the child's behavior from the child's identity. There is a huge difference between saying, "You are lazy," and saying, "You haven't finished your responsibilities today." One attacks the child's character. The other addresses a specific behavior that can change. Labels often become self-fulfilling. Children repeatedly called difficult, lazy, careless, or bad may eventually begin believing those descriptions define who they are. Smart parents protect their child's identity while correcting behavior. They communicate one powerful message: "I love you, but this behavior needs to change." That simple distinction preserves self-worth while still encouraging responsibility. As children grow older, this healthy self-image becomes the foundation for confidence, resilience, and emotional well-being. Smart parents also understand that connection comes before correction. Imagine trying to teach a lesson to someone who feels scared, embarrassed, or overwhelmed. Very little learning takes place. The same is true for children. Sometimes a child first needs comfort before correction. A hug, gentle eye contact, or sitting beside them can calm their nervous system enough to make real learning possible. Once emotions settle, conversations become productive instead of confrontational. This approach doesn't excuse poor behavior. It simply recognizes that calm brains learn better than frightened brains. One of the greatest misconceptions about gentle parenting is that it lacks boundaries. In reality, healthy parenting combines warmth with firmness. Children need both. Too much control creates fear. Too little guidance creates insecurity. The healthiest families balance kindness with clear expectations. Parents remain calm while staying firm. They say no when necessary. They maintain routines. They enforce consequences. But they do so with respect rather than intimidation. This balance teaches children that love and limits can exist together. Perhaps the most important lesson is this: children eventually become the voice they hear most often. If their daily experience includes criticism, shouting, and harsh words, that voice may become their own inner dialogue. But if they regularly hear encouragement, guidance, patience, and respectful correction, those words gradually become part of how they speak to themselves. Years later, when life becomes difficult, that inner voice matters more than almost anything else. It influences confidence, relationships, mental health, and decision-making. Parents are helping write that inner voice every single day. No parent remains perfectly calm all the time. Every mother and father makes mistakes. Even the smartest parents lose patience occasionally. The difference is what happens afterward. They apologize. They take responsibility. They repair the relationship. Ironically, apologizing does not weaken parental authority. It strengthens it. Children learn humility, accountability, and forgiveness by watching adults practice those qualities. A sincere apology teaches far more than pretending nothing happened. It shows children that making mistakes is human, but taking responsibility is a choice. As we bring everything together, one message stands above the rest. Smart parents don't avoid yelling because they have perfect children. They avoid yelling because they understand what kind of adults they're trying to raise. They know that today's small conversations become tomorrow's lifelong habits. Every calm response teaches emotional regulation. Every respectful correction teaches dignity. Every consistent boundary teaches responsibility. Every loving interaction strengthens trust. These small moments may not seem dramatic, but they quietly shape a child's future one day at a time. If you find yourself raising your voice more often than you'd like, don't be discouraged. Change begins with awareness. Pause before speaking. Lower your voice instead of raising it. Listen before correcting. Focus on teaching instead of winning the argument. These small changes may seem insignificant at first, but over weeks, months, and years, they transform family relationships in remarkable ways. Your child does not need a perfect parent. Your child needs a parent who is present, emotionally available, willing to grow, and committed to leading with both love and wisdom. Because in the end, children may not remember every rule you gave them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And the greatest legacy any parent can leave is not a child who obeys out of fear, but a confident, compassionate, emotionally strong adult who knows how to treat others with the same respect they experienced at home. If you found value in today's video, consider supporting the channel by liking this video, subscribing for more practical parenting insights, and sharing it with another parent who wants to raise emotionally strong, respectful, and confident children. Sometimes one calm conversation today can change a child's future tomorrow.